Hello, Texas, and welcome to the Hello, Texas podcast with Tim Murphy and Steve Peters. This week, Steve and Tim talk with Lilly and the Implements. They discuss how the band was formed, their unique sound, and their new album. We hope you enjoy the conversation.
So we are here at one of the iconic venues in Texas at O'Brien's Irish Pub in Temple. Thank you, Mr. Cody, over there, for letting us in the building today.
That guy, thanks.
And when, I'm going to say this, when Tim and I started doing this, before we even had a name for Hello Texas, we were coming up with the prototypical artist to why we were doing Hello Texas. And there were 3 or 4 names. Number one name was Lilly, and number 1 and 2, Lilly and Wes. Before y'all were in the same band.
That was before it was, Lilly and the Implements.
And there were a few more names, but y'all are the reason why. I didn't even know you then. And you were just some kid that was with some local band that I didn't know.
You know what I knew about you? Hey, there's this guy, Evan, he plays drums. I don't think he's been doing it for very long, but he's really, really good at it.
Who said I was good?
I did.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I didn't never see you whenever maybe you wasn't good. But.
So introducing Lilly and the Implements.
Hello.
Hey guys. Wait a minute,
it's a pleasure to be here.
we know you. Yeah.
So we've done my very first solo project was a phone conversation with Jon. Over 2 years, about January 1st of 2020, before the world ended. So you were episode 1. You were episode 6 and 7, I think.
Yeah.
And then we tried to do one with Lilly live, and it was a shit show.
Was that the one at Scores?
It was. It was supposed to be a live talk show. And it worked out great until everybody got there in the bandwidth.
This has taken on a few forms, and that was our first attempt. Thank you for being here after that, because that was.
I mean, y'all were stressed out. I understand.
Oh,
y'all were mad.
I was good. He was hot. Yeah.
I never see Steve mad.
No, I wasn't mad. I was disappointed it wasn't going to work out.
Super
I
frustrated.
would be too. It's out of your control stuff. That drives you crazy.
Yeah.
And it was all trying a bunch of new stuff, and anyway, here we are. We've kind of figured some stuff out.
So first time I met you, Lilly, was here in this bar.
Yes.
You were with a band, Hangar 24. I walked in. There's 2 female lead. I don't know if y'all were leads. I think lead and co-lead with Megan Meek, and singing rock cover songs. And I was like, all right, I found my band. And I think around the same time you were playing the same stages, Sheps with, they called them the Fab Five. With
I've been playing the same stages for like 20 years now.
Yeah. And so tell the story on how you met these guys.
A little blurry on how I've met Wes. Probably just had a lot of mutual musician friends and ended up on Facebook together at some point. I think I just needed somebody to play with me, 2 other people. I needed a drummer and a guitar player, maybe just for this show that Lauren Diamond was trying to get me to do at Swan Dive.
In Austin.
And I sent him a message and asked if he knew if, maybe a drummer, we could just have a trio and be fine with it. It became way cooler than that.
So you were playing, you and Jon were playing together at, was it Barrow? Is that right?
Barrow and
Random.
Miller's back when they had music. And
that was great.
Yeah, it was good times.
Wait, Miller's used to do music?
Yeah, that was the best.
I've got,
the best.
Really?
I shot you there. I think I shot y'all there once, and
They would send us home. We would eat,
so much
we'd have
barbecue.
cold ribs every morning for breakfast.
Oh, their barbecue is so good.
Johnny Reynolds is the pit master there, and he's also a.
Well, I'll correct you. He's not there anymore.
He's not there anymore.
No, he's not.
Oh man, but he was.
Wonder not having music, and then anyway.
I think
Not drawing any connections, but
I just think they're making money hand over fist.
Yeah, they didn't
Don't need
need
to stay
music.
open that late.
okay.
Love you, Millers.
Yeah, miss
we
you.
used to have a lot of fun at the old location.
The little bitty stage.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Pack in there in that little corner.
It was about the size of this table.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think you
so
two together are a vibe, aren't you?
Oh, they are.
I bet they are.
Yeah.
I can see it. Yeah.
As long as we're both on the right meds.
Yeah, no, I get that.
so you asked these two guys, and y'all have been old friends for a long time.
Yeah.
John, I know you played Pooties a lot. Is that how you started playing with him?
Yeah, so actually, I heard of him through my buddy Russian Steel. It was another.
You did? I
Yeah.
thought it was through Nate.
Okay. Honestly, it's through Russian.
Okay.
I was playing with Nate before he moved down there and met you. But Russian was the first person who was like, you got to meet this dude Napier. I want to play with him, and he was just amazing. You know, like he's got the coolest, style. Wow. And then I saw the videos on Facebook of you playing with Nate doing the gospel stuff.
Oh yeah, we were cutting the gospel.
And that's when I had my fanboy moment with Jon Napier for sure. But Russian was going down to play at Pootie's with John for a songwriter night, and he invited me just to come along, and I just ended up sitting in with him, and we just kind of.
And
We were
Became.
we were like peas and carrots.
yeah,
Peas and carrots.
my
best
Jimmy.
buddy in the world.
And so y'all were playing at Barrow, and then the story I heard, I don't know if it's
Evan.
true,
Those
is
can
Evan
be
was just there, and we were like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll play with y'all.
Well, I'd known about Wes for a long time, and I just started to hear about John through one of my friends, and he's like, yeah, they're great. They're both great. If you haven't seen them, you need to go see them. And I knew they were playing at Barrow, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to go up there, have a few beers, go watch them play. And then they played for a while, and they had a little break. And I went and talked to him and told him I was a drummer, and that's kind of how that blossomed.
Well, and we've been talking quite a bit. Wes and I playing around the farm because I ended up living in Wes's backyard for about 3 years. And we've been talking a lot and playing, and we were doing some different little recording things, messing around, and we were just kind of hungry for something. And we had talked about like different drummers, and I think Wes knew one drummer that just there was no way
Yeah,
it would
y'all
work.
were already going to be together.
Yeah, we were just trying to do something because we were stale and we were just chopping each other down all the time, friendly wise. But put two crazy songwriters in one little area can be crazy. But then Evan, it's just like he showed up, and it's like he was always there. He's like our little brother.
Totally.
So not saying little, like in.
And I swear
person.
we met him like a week or two before Lily hit me up. Like it was just like
he was just hanging out.
just kind of all kind of
Perfect timing.
clicked together.
And you were playing with
Great.
South Main, or was it?
Yeah,
was it
Lucas Woolley band,
Lucas
yeah.
Woolley.
Lucas Woolley, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
actually who
him.
told me about you, John.
I love that.
Because
guy.
y'all had traded guitars or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah,
check
I
out
had
this
that little
guitar,
Martin.
the old Guild.
He was my stunt double a couple times.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. And he told me about y'all, and then I went and saw them, and yeah.
So the first rehearsal, I mean, your songs existed; they were there, and you just needed somebody to play behind you. Did the songs change when these guys got in the room?
Oh, they did.
Well,
stop.
they also changed like 3 or 4 times after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So I
before
got
we
a question
recorded.
about that. Whenever a songwriter has a song, you've got the lyrics. Do you also kind of have the music in your head too? Do you write the music out and all that stuff? Like,
I don't write music. I just.
but you know
the chords.
how you think you hear
Every
it.
song we recorded, she played on guitar for us.
And then y'all kind of heard it, and y'all
I
went,
knew what they wanted
"Oh,
out of it.
this was great." You know, if we did this or something, is that kind of how
It
that
was just
Well,
developed?
they just
It was
played it
wide
however they
open.
wanted.
Well,
I just
my
let them do
favorite
whatever they
my
wanted,
favorite
so
story
we
of that
started
though
playing.
is Let Me Know, when we first started, and I actually have I may have the recording on my phone. No, I don't think. Anyways, she was like, "This sounds too much." I do have recordings on my phone,
Oh,
of it,
yeah, I
but
remember.
not the original conversation is what I'm saying. But anyway, she was like, "This sounds too much like a Chris Isaak song, Wicked Game," you know, like.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah.
It's,
Oh, wow.
it's the same chord progression if you really study on it. But anyways, she was like, I don't know, I don't really want to play that anymore because it reminds me of that. And I was like, well, how can I make it not sound like Wicked Game? And that's where I came up, just that little simple guitar part.
I've always wondered that.
Yeah.
Huh?
So that's how that happened.
So who drove the music to where it is now? Who was
Wesley and Lily.
I don't understand.
All of us kind of.
like you had the song in your head, and then as it evolved, who was like, we got to change? I mean, that song I know that
I
you.
like to take the back seat on
It all
decisions.
happened. I mean, thanks, John. But yeah, definitely the guitar part. But it all kind of happened in a team spirit type of
Yeah,
situation.
well, and the
you know?
thing too, if you think of it this way, all 4 of us are songwriters.
Mhm.
All 4 of us are songwriters. So here comes this
Right.
girl with this voice and this presence, and we're all thinking like songwriters and doing all these different parts. I mean, I know I'm always thinking like a songwriter,
Mhm.
and so it kind of nobody really said it needs to go this way or it needs
just
to go that
happened.
way.
Everybody
it just
did
kind
what
of
they
happened.
felt.
Yeah.
And
It's organic. I mean, that's your sound.
We never like sat down at a table and said, let's
and
write
it has a
this way or
complete
change it.
mind of its
It's
own.
just
The
when we
whole
would play,
thing
we would just do it.
from the day we started, it's had a mind of its own.
Let's talk about this officially because I've screwed it up 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
How do you define your sound?
We don't.
Yeah. Because
I've defined it and been told, what the hell are you talking
I've heard
about,
so many
Steve?
different answers to that question.
I really need an answer.
Thrash
to that.
metal.
Because on the
Thrash
way
metal.
down,
We
I
have no
had to send
Neo-folk.
y'all to one of my kids in Georgia, and he's like, "What do they sound like?" I said, "You know what? I'd love to be able to tell you one thing, but as soon as I do, it would probably be something else." And I'm really trying to stop saying, "Oh, well, they sound like this," or "They sound like," because I don't want to.
I can honestly say stylistically, we all meet up in the '70s, like Neil Young.
Well, yeah.
Do me one deeper than Neil Young.
If
because,
I could-
like,
if I could-
Nico, like what's the band?
If I could-
Velvet Underground, like all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Well, and there's so many different
The
things.
Monkees.
Like, I mean, even Wes and I, we listen to so many different kinds of music.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not by nature a bass player, but I love
And,
bass players.
and
I
you
love Rick
and you weren't going to
Danko.
play in the band. You weren't going to be a bass player.
She was coming, and I was probably, just halfway pissed about something, maybe just being a jerk. I said, I'm not playing bass. Like,
I want to come
And then
back
he
to
walks in
that
with
because that's a whole conversation in itself. I need to know how we describe y'all. Because I want to tell, there's a lot of people I want to tell about y'all, and everybody always asks, what do they sound
Does
like?
it need to
Is
be?
is alt country still a
I
thing?
don't know.
Yeah,
like,
that's I think what.
Like I
ask
love
the guy that mixed it. What's he
Yeah.
think? What do you
I
think?
think
What would
he's-
you call it?
And we've got some special guests that are going to hop in here in a little bit. So
Giving it away. We don't have
I
an
got
answer.
nothing.
Yeah, I don't know, because Wes has, because I think about his guitar parts a lot, and Wes has a lot of mid '90s influence, but then sort of a mid '70s influence, and so it comes together in this thing. And I've played so much acoustic guitar with Wes that in my mind, Wes is playing acoustic. Like it's just it's the way he plays. No matter if he was playing a broom, he would play it that way. So it's kind of hard to. I don't know. I mean, I can hear all of his influences when
Yeah,
he
I
plays.
can too.
And he can hear mine. And so
Definitely.
it's hard to.
And I was listening to your songs before the band was up, and I'm like, what song is this?
They're
This
on
is
steroids.
yeah, and we'll get into that when we start talking about the album because there's a couple songs that I've actually watched grow from a little acoustic, meek, little nice
love
love
that.
song
Isn't it cool whenever you see that
into something that puts men. I've seen men cry at your shows before.
Really?
I have. Where were we at
He's
in
like, it was
Waco?
me. I was the
No,
man.
no. Where were we in
What is
Waco?
that?
You made me cry.
Oh God.
Where'd y'all play in Waco?
Did we play in Waco?
The pizza
Yeah.
place.
Woodway Slice
Slow
House.
Rise.
Yeah. Slow Rise.
Slow
Yes,
Rise.
that place
Slow Rise.
too.
There was
Yeah.
a dude sitting there and he was crying after. I don't remember what song it was, but I was like,
I remember
That was a
that
fun
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, I love
And
that
it was
place.
because it was a powerful song.
Wow.
But I wish I recorded it and knew what song.
No,
it was.
because it was 420.
Do you remember what song?
That might have been. There's a lot of beer going that day.
Oh
so.
man, it was sitting back towards the back. Whenever you kind of walk out there, there's like a couple tables sitting right there by the thing. Then there was another one, and he was right because we was here, and he was like right here. Yeah. Oh, see, I remember that. Golly, I wish I could remember what song that was.
Yeah, me too. But
Yeah.
but it's been neat watching it go from and all 4 of you. I didn't get to see you until you joined the band, and I've done a deep dive into Jon Napier music as 2020 Spotify says my number 1 album
Nice.
of 2020 was Jon, and I was like,
Awesome.
Appreciate that.
so you got your own vibe. You were acoustic in my head before this started. You're folk country, and you were rock and roll to me.
See,
And-
here, what's crazy though is I dive into you. I follow you on Spotify, and everything except for Binky or whatever it was, Blippy.
Oh,
whatever.
Blippy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not my.
Yeah,
personal,
probably not. Probably not that. But
The tractor song.
what is it that was
that
it
mean?
Acoustic Alchemy or something like that?
Acoustic Alchemy. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
those guys. And when you start listening to some of that stuff, it starts getting some of the jazz stuff. you know, and then some just to really.
That makes me happy. You follow my Spotify.
Yeah, dude. Man, that's
we talked about that on
that's right.
If you want to deep dive into music, you go on Spotify and look up Wes
Look up
Perryman
Wes
and
Perryman.
look at what he's
for
listening
sure.
to and go, I've
Man,
heard that.
I've done that. I've done that.
I have went down rabbit holes,
Me
and
too.
I have found stuff that I
That's
didn't really
great.
care for, but I have found other stuff. I thought, well, this is really cool. Just super neat vibe, just sitting in the house and listening to it.
Awesome,
and
man.
so whenever I
think
can hear,
a
whenever
couple days
I'm
ago was
listening
country lullabies.
to you guys now as a whole, and I know a different side of you too.
Yeah.
And then, man, you're just a legend.
Oh, thank you.
And so whenever you kind of put all that stuff together, and it just I hear all of that just meshing. It's I don't know. That's my babbling.
Hey,
that's
you
what I
let him
got.
call me that if he wants to.
Yeah, he didn't mind.
I'm kidding. I agree.
And it's all, you know what? It's all crazy too, because you just wrote a thing,
I wrote a review of the album
And-
last
and-
It was
week.
great, by the
So
way.
wonderful.
and one of the things he said about you was you were almost painfully shy off the stage.
I've known you for a long time.
Nailed that.
I've known you for a long time, and I know you have anxiety about that, and I know how well you handle it off stage. And I've seen people come up to you, and you come to me afterwards like, "Who was that?"
Oh,
So
I don't know who half the people are who talk to me. I don't know.
So I've known you for almost 10
just,
years.
in my head, I'm
It
just
was,
going.
and I've known you
trip
for
out.
probably over 10 years. I've known you for 3 years now, and 3 years. So I've known you guys for a long time. So, and I've shot all of you five or six times as a band.
Man,
and
you guys have done so much for us. So,
Yeah.
like I said, y'all are the prototypical reason why I do this, and I'm sure
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we do this.
yeah. For deep down, and I've got some bones with the music industry. Period. And I'm not always as quiet about that as I probably should be.
Join the club.
And I don't know. You guys are I think you all kind of, I don't want to say you fit into a mold because you absolutely don't, but you are the reason people should be listening to music. Y'all are the reason people should be buying albums and playing them in their house. Y'all are the reason people should take their phones and their ear pods and throw them out in the trash and open the windows up and turn it up as loud as they should. And the neighbors be damn, everybody's going to hear it. You know, that's... And so the best thing we can do, that I can do, that you can do, that we can do together is this.
Be a fan.
For whatever that is be a fan and be open about being a fan.
Well, that's,
And hopefully the however many people we talk to, personal or through this or whatever, we help catch some other fans. And I don't know, man. Y'all,
And the fact that we're struggling with what to call y'all, where do we put y'all in the record store on the shelf? You can put any section and it'll work.
Put us on the end of the aisle.
Yeah,
You know where they put.
I think
yeah, I think that's
a
where y'all need to be.
Where they put the you know, the grocery store where they make the sales.
Yeah.
Put us on the end of the aisle.
That's where
whatever
we
it
think y'all
takes to
should
get your
be.
sound out. So it's going to segue really well into who we got talking about,
I
why
have
the
had-
album is out right now.
I have had
so.
3 people ask me if we're gonna release a vinyl, and
Yeah, we are.
I just say we just need money.
Yeah, we're going
We
to.
need a
Yeah,
fundraiser.
however,
Do CDs and vinyl.
I'd love to be
So
able
we'll
to try
put
to-
the GoFundMe up here on the screen.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Let's see. Where is he? So we're
We're on Venmo under Lilly and the Implements.
Turn this into a
Venmo,
telethon.
and we'll start a GoFundMe for that.
yeah. You know, I'll run a little tagline. Look, let's take a break and let's come back and
We'll talk about the album next.
let's come back. Let's just dig into the album just a little bit.
Sounds
Y'all
good.
cool with that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. We'll be right back.
There we go. This is Steve. I'm with Wes Perryman and Jon Napier.
Hello, Texas.
Man, I can't shake the name Doc Holliday because you had the hat.
I'm sure you hadn't heard that one before.
And I mean it was, and y'all were fire, man. And it
Hello,
was just
Texas.
that whole thing. Everybody, and I've seen you a handful of times since then.
And vice versa. It's always been a great experience. And when you're around, I know that things are going to be awesome.
Oh man,
And that hat, man. I got that hat, man. You know, I didn't want like a run-of-the-mill Texas hat. My friend Cameron in Waco.
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Standard hats,
Standard Hat Works.
Yeah.
That dude is a beast.
right? So he made all these hats. I didn't want like a Texas hat because I'm an Okie. And know.
Yeah.
And a group in Philly and all this stuff. So Doc Holliday was a guy that we both were really into. So we were like, let's make a Doc Holliday hat. Yeah. And then I got it. I didn't have the stash. And it looked stupid. And then my friends were like, let me wear it and stuff. And if they had a stash, it looked awesome. So I had to grow a stash.
Do you still have the hat?
I still have the hat and I still have the stash.
Okay. So, matter of fact, the hat's right
It's
over
right
there somewhere.
there.
That is right there. That's the hat.
Okay.
And it's funny because it was so the Doc Holliday thing. Actually, y'all really that was a real thing.
So we have Jason Deckman.
Yeah.
We have all kind of guests here.
Man, everybody
floating
here.
around. We got
Jason.
Victoria Scott's back over here. So, hi, Victoria.
Jason Deckman's here taking pictures.
Hello, Texas. We're back, by the way.
We
we have a
didn't
special
officially.
guest, and there's
That's
a
the one.
That's a party.
Sorry.
There's a reason. There's a reason why. We've got. I'm going to try to do this. I know him as Nooch, but it's Giovanni
Carnuccio.
Carnuccio. I was the third. And he just came out with a brand new album as well called Matter of Time.
I need to get one.
Yeah, I got you.
And introduce yourself. You've played with some big names.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Edie. I know Turnpike.
Right.
Cody Jinks.
Right. Whitey Morgan in 78s.
Oh, I love it. I actually
Opens
found
for
Cody
him.
Jinks through Whitey Morgan.
Right, yeah.
Go figure.
Everybody did. That was kind of the Whitey Morgan found Cody Jinks, basically.
Wow.
Although Cody Jinks had left Texas and was, busting his butt,
Yeah.
touring the country, playing honky tonks for a while, until that marvelous mingling happened.
Yeah. That was.
And,
So you're here for a reason, though, not just because you're an awesome drummer and musician, but y'all recorded this album, the Lilly and the Implements album, back in
September
of 2019 at Cibolo Studios. Who was the producer?
I don't think we'd all say Chet Himes.
Yeah, Chet was
It wasn't officially that.
Yeah, Chet's in the room. He's driving the bus. Like that's just the way it is.
So Chet Himes was producer for Christopher Cross.
Yeah, he's worked with everybody.
And a whole slew of country.
He did all the reissues when they started doing the DVD reissues of Austin City Limits. He and Bill Johnson and Jerry Tubb did all that. I mean, we could sit here all day and talk about what Chet did.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
But he was an influence, if not the producer for the album as y'all recorded it.
He was the reason why we went there.
Well,
Yeah.
if I can tell the story real fast.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, when I was staying on Wesley's farm, we merged our record collections.
Which is impressive.
It was
by the way.
unbelievable, actually. So when I moved, you should have seen us going through. Was that mine? Do we have two of those? But anyway, I was looking for some record. I can't remember what it was. I looked for it for 3 days, and he said, "Dude, I've been looking for this Jerry Jeff record that I have for like weeks, and I can't find it. I know it's in there." And then we found it, and he'd been telling me about this record, and we're sitting there listening to it. And I'd done a bunch of sound work with Chet and Bill Johnson, and they're just like. They're the reason that I ever had any sound work anyway. And so we're sitting there listening to this record, and I said, "Let me see the sleeve." I said, "That kick drum is killer." I said, "What is good? Who did that?" I wanted to see it, and right at the top there's Chet. And so I text Chet, and I start telling him the story and what we're doing, and he goes, "Oh man, that brings back all these memories." Well, that got us kind of going on Cibolo.
Which is down in San Antonio.
Yeah, because that was Chet's studio, and that's just where we ended up. I called him and we talked to him and
What's the
Sweetest
date?
guy ever.
yeah,
And I
and
was like, well, let's just pick a date.
and James Campbell and
Landis.
Landis.
I met him.
Yeah, just great guys and great studio, great sound, and that's just where we ended up. We actually, the next year, we cut the Wes Perryman record.
I got to visit to see some farm kids shoot a record a couple months after that and realize what a cool place it was.
It was fun.
So sadly, Chet passed away
Yes, he did.
last year of not COVID,
attack.
a heart attack.
Yeah.
And y'all had COVID and all of the stuff that comes along with trying to get an album that just kind of sat on the shelf for a while, just trying everything. And then, as I understand it, some Mohawk guy named Nooch came into the picture
Yeah.
and heard it, and So how did you get involved in all this?
Okay, so in addition to all those other bands, I'm a damn quail.
That's right.
Covey is-
Sorry, how did I leave that off the list?
And so I met Lilly a while back through Brian, and her being a musical ambassador for Temple and all this stuff. And, so we're hanging out, and she was interested in getting a record produced, all this stuff. And she's like, we've recorded this record already, and it's just kind of, we're not real sure about it and stuff. So she sent it to me, and I heard it, and I was like, whoa, whoa, hold on. So, yeah, I had to get it out. This is lightning in a bottle. This is great stuff. This is what everybody that makes records wants to make in a record. So,
Thank you,
really
man.
cool.
No,
Because it doesn't sound like everything else you listen to.
Oh, definitely.
It's all familiar, but it doesn't. You can't link it to anybody or anything, and it's just its own sound, your own genre.
Unique sound, great arrangements, musical chemistry, songwriting, all the things that you want out of a record or on this thing. And sometimes it just takes that, like we were talking about a minute ago. Like it just takes somebody with fresh ears or somebody coming from.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah, you're what we wished for.
for sure. Man,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah, things happen when they're supposed to. But
Yeah.
wish could have been there for the recording of it. But I've been telling people since the release too that the backbone of every one of those tracks, the drums, the guitar, and the bass, it's all live.
We cut it live in 2 days.
Every single one of those is live takes.
So
So
go figure.
the acoustic, we went in and put, redid the acoustics and redid the vocals. But it's all live. So I'm proud of that.
Me too. Fantastic. And just singing on that thing. I mean, people get in the studio, they get shy, they pull punches, all this
I was
stuff.
terrified.
Well,
I wanted to do more.
Painfully
Maybe she's
shy,
terrified.
but battles through it.
Well, and then the whole time you're out there, like, I'm just wondering if the guys are in there like, that sounded bad, just like giggling. I know that's completely
Not what was that.
ridiculous
not
to
at all.
think, but my
They
brain-
were giggling because
I'm terrified.
they knew what the potential of the song was going to be. So
well, and live, people dig deep, all this stuff. And you have that fifth gear that gives people chills and really,
I'm glad you said that because I know you off stage. I know you are a different person when you get behind the mic, and that's why I said that in the review, that probably painfully shy,
nailed
but there's a different. It all comes out behind the mic, and I think all of you are a little different on stage and off stage. Still humble, but
Yeah,
very powerful
that's it.
musicians, all four of you.
That's absolutely it.
Yeah.
Because legend Jon Napier, you, for all the things that you've done, and you're just this really calm, cool, laid back guy. And you admit you're kind of an asshole sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
But for the most part, it's how you are.
But the
You-
sugar makes up for it.
Absolutely. But you just are just the
part of the job.
sweetest human in the world. And you are just the shyness. Yeah, that's exactly how you come across. And then you got Wes, who's this blonde-haired, all-American, farming, good guy. And then
Skateboarder.
yeah.
Punk farmer.
And then here you
Punk
are,
farmer.
you come rolling up on a motorcycle and you're just, just
man.
cool-looking guy, and you're just
you.
soft-spoken, very nice.
You've grown into the cool for me. You
I'm trying my hardest.
And but you're not even trying, and you just kind of are, and you just sort of sash through a room, and it's just kind of cool when you see it happen.
Pretty
And then-
boy.
Yeah, but then whenever y'all get on stage and y'all become completely different people, but you're still who you are, but it comes
hear
through
all the influences.
in a way that just people wish they could do what y'all do when y'all get on a stage. People try to do that, and when y'all get on a stage, it just sort of happens, and
You just gotta let it all go.
man, and that's exactly what y'all do. I don't think I've ever seen y'all or seen a recording of y'all or anything where you didn't just go to the stage
So-
and just
Best
let it
feeling.
go.
Well, and
Best
even
feeling, that's why.
regardless of how it looks, we're still exactly who we are up there.
And that's clear.
Yeah.
And so,
So
I'm sorry.
up
That's off
until
the album.
up until July, when was Friday when the album came out?
9th.
July 9th. Up until then, y'all were a live band only. Nobody had anything that they could hear other than a bootleg copy of something I might have put
Sorry,
online.
y'all.
But July 9th comes, and now it's out there. Was it scary?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I was like, we're talking about when to do this. And I was like, afterwards for sure. Like, get all that fear out. And also, like, what are we going to talk about? Oh, so the album's coming out. What we've been talking about for 2 years. Let's give them something different. It happened.
Which is everything we said about y'all. Having you pick up the album and then push it over the edge right there is pretty fitting, I think.
That's amazing.
This has been my whole music career. Is, you know, things just kind of fall in my lap that are.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What is that like? Because for all the projects you've been on and everything, and then to hear you talk about what this album means to you, the way it comes to you, what is that like for a musician? Somebody, you know, kind of at your spot. You know, you're not always the front guy.
No.
You know, you're but everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows who you are. And to be such an accomplished musician and to be able to find yourself in a position to have something like their album come to you, what does that do for you?
Oh man, do for me. I don't know. It's given me a career in this thing. I always tell people that, you know, like drums and drumming, my love, and it's my kung fu, right? But that's a learned thing, kind of recognizing. You know, something unique and awesome and, you know, just magnificent stuff that people might not see at first and stuff has been my, if I have a talent, it's that, I guess.
Yeah.
And just see these things. Oh my God, Evan Felker is incredible. Why is this place not packed? You know,
Right.
And I think we consider ourselves armchair that we're back here like, why hasn't anybody seen?
No. The religious following that you guys have achieved in the area is well earned, and you know everybody around here knows the truth.
Thank you, man.
And now everybody else will too. Great. This record turned out great, and it's just it's necessary. I mean. You hear things on the radio sometimes, and you're like, "This is not so great."
I got a question.
Because this isn't out.
Was your album in the can, ready to go when you started this one, or were you doing them side by side?
Oh yeah. No, I was done with mine at that point.
Okay.
I did mine during the pandemic, and I was at home, and recording sessions were really awkward, and I wasn't really interested in doing that. And I wanted to explore what I could do by myself. Had a couple of mics laying around, some instruments. Bam.
And I think that's going to be the big thing that comes out of 2020 is other artists that have been doing that.
Yeah, like it inspired so many things and so many people, that being cut off from the world and all that jazz.
on that, where, because the album was done, y'all recorded the album prior to
COVID.
That.
Can we say we can't say that? I think
YouTube. I'm so over it. And
YouTube will demonetize us for
through that time with not being able to kind of get it released and everything. How does that change how y'all feel about the album post COVID?
So, honestly, I think it worked out just like it was supposed to.
Yeah.
I really do. I think, for one, I mean, it was a very traumatic time of my life when this band was formed. I was going through a lot, you know, being separated with my wife, and just my whole world was upside down. And then this band happened, and it saved me. And honestly, the music wouldn't have came out the way it had if it hadn't been for all this crazy alchemy happening. So it's been interesting taking about a year off and then listening to it after it's mastered, and just having the memories and just feeling good and really hearing it with a fresh set of ears, you know.
Just still feel good?
It's like it's somebody else's album from so long ago.
It feels even better, Stepping away from it for a long time.
So, you know,
it feels even better.
Yeah, COVID sucks.
Especially after he got older.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You know, coronavirus, that whole thing, it definitely just shut it all down for us. We had a show here on last St. Patrick's Day, and we were going to play here, and I had a bunch of merch showed up. We were gonna have merch,
and they canceled it like an hour before y'all started.
Yeah. And that
So
was just
how do you think that affects? I don't want to get too far off of this topic, but with that, having that kind of that little lull between recording and release, you think that may be something going forward, on the next album or whatever, maybe something that, just from that experience go, you know what, let's give this some air.
Nope.
I think I definitely learned from it, but
No,
I would never
mash the gas, take that
Always
ass.
try to get it
It's
right.
just like
Get it
farming.
done.
Just get it right.
In farming, I could take everything that I should have done this year and try to use that into the next year, and it's never
Not gonna
going
be
to
the
work
same.
that way. So you just have to kind of go with the flow.
Feel it out.
Yeah. So.
Cool.
So, you want to take a break and come back and talk about the actual album itself?
Oh, is that what I thought we was doing that? Oh, is that not what we was
No, we're going to talk about the songs and how each one of them grew, and maybe everybody's favorite, least favorite.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah, let's do that. So we're going to take a quick break. You can sit in for the second part too. I think you got some input on this part.
Yes.
We're here with Lilly and Implements at O'Brien's Pub. We haven't said that enough.
Hey, I don't know. We just seen Deckman roll
Yeah,
through.
Jason. Did Jason Deckman?
I think he's fixing to leave, and I just want to make sure we're clear that there's going to be some pictures that are going to come out that are way better than anything I would have took.
Now I want to say that Lilly played a show here solo a couple months ago, and I think how many photographers showed up for that show?
Yeah.
I think there were I think there were 6.
At least.
There were 6.
Me, you, Winston, Becky,
Albany.
Wes Albanese.
Oh yeah.
At least 5, and there was I think maybe 1 or 2 other people with cameras that we didn't.
Just know, I
didn't
sit
know.
up in Waco, and I was
Yeah.
making fun of y'all because I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
Well, my
you
friends
think
over
they
at
got
Shop
enough?
came out too, and they were doing the same thing. They're like, "Well, how did you do that?"
You think they got enough coverage?
Yeah, who invited the paparazzi?
Yeah.
And it was paparazzi.
I was
that
singing
night.
"Poor Lily." All those cameras shoved in her face.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
Are we still recording? Can I
We-
throw something on?
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Can I just nooch down next to the nooch? So just to
You-
make sure
You're good. You're good.
Jason
John
Deckman.
and I had a phone conversation a while back, and we've had several since. And John, you're like a brother that I never had.
Ditto,
But you
pal.
said something that has just stuck with me about this side of the table, the folks on this side of the lens. And you said we was during a show, and you were watching me and Steve and Winston. I think it was just the 3 of us. He said, you'd go over by the bass, and Steve would be right here by the front. And Winston would be over by the riser. He goes, and y'all would work that shot. And he goes, and then one of you get up, go back, and then the other one would go to the spot that the first one just vacated, and then that one would go to the, and he goes, and you guys would take turns. He goes, but I could tell you were looking at each other, and you were trying not to get in front of each other's shots.
Yeah.
He goes, it was like a complete collaboration. Like y'all were chasing. He goes, it was competition. Like y'all were trying to get the best shot of Lily or the best shot of Wes, doing their thing, playing the solo, hitting 5th gear, whatever it was. He goes, y'all were competing to get that shot. He goes, but you weren't competing with each other.
No, you had
It was a
camaraderie etiquette,
collaboration,
man.
camaraderie, and it was
Yeah.
a beautiful
Right.
thing. And I'm just so grateful you told me that.
The difference in that is I'm thrilled if you get I want it for Lily. I want it for
Totally.
Wes. I want it for Evan and John. I could
Yeah.
care less who gets it as long as somebody gets the shot.
Well,
So
and let's mention
And-
Chris, Winston, and Becky Steinauer. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys, the 4 of you guys, we couldn't have been luckier that y'all were in our realm. When
Tim.
No. I'm not. But I'm not in that circle. This is
Yeah,
not
the
my.
ones
Right.
This
that
is
call
not my
us, 'cause
hood,
we
and
can
I'm
also
okay with
mention
that.
Wes, but like these are the ones that are always.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you-
You're
well,
the
integral
guys.
to the implement.
Yeah.
For sure, y'all were.
They are implements. There's
Yeah.
several.
I don't.
and
I
I
don't.
knew
need it.
the moment that you said y'all two were playing together. I'm like, well, this is going to be good. And the first time, I think you were with me the first time
Down at Barrow.
at Barrow that we saw y'all live.
That was
And
a good day.
That
It
was a good
was.
day.
That was a great day.
Was it the festival?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was such a fun
And
that was a great day.
and I think you and I both realized that we've never heard this before.
It's-
But, and I
it
think,
was
I
special.
think that's,
Yeah.
and I think that's just it for me.
Yeah.
You
That was
know,
an Avion day.
as
Yeah,
as
well,
as a
yeah.
fan of the music and as a fan of the photographers as well, to
Y'all are fun to
to
take pictures of.
realize,
That's it.
man, y'all really
Yeah.
do make it easy. Because I see
Yeah.
I see everybody's shots, and
Those are my favorite
and I get
pictures,
to
but-
stand outside of that circle and kind of look at it and go, oh yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
But more than that, I can also tell it's not just showing up to take pictures of some artist. I know how Christopher Winston is. Christopher's going to go where he wants to go.
And he means business.
And if he doesn't want to be there, he's not going to be there.
Nope.
And kudos, Christopher. I dig that.
He is
And
committed to his vision.
absolutely he is.
That's the beautiful thing about Chris. He is
Yeah.
committed to his vision, nobody else.
And for the four of you, I found out about you guys through Steve, but then I know there's a handful of other photographers who I guess pick up on the same thing we do. Maybe they don't dissect it the way we do.
I think a lot of it is our 1972 bass amp.
Yes.
the casino.
The casino.
That's got to be it. I have no idea.
We'll talk about that in the next segment.
Wait,
by the way.
I gotta say something. There's this shot. I don't know which one of y'all got it. I don't know. No. There's a shot from the side of Evan and I, and about 3 days before that shot, I'd broken my back in Oklahoma, and I didn't know yet. But I busted up some ribs, so I was all wrapped up, and I'm standing up straight playing bass, and there's this shot of Evan and I.
That was on the 4th of July.
And I don't know which one of y'all got it. I don't remember, but it's my favorite picture that's ever been taken. I don't like having my picture taken, but when somebody invisible is taking it, they get the best stuff. And that shot of me and Evan, like
That was a good
I want
shot.
that on my wall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll go look
I
for it.
remember I remember exactly how I felt every time I see that picture.
Yeah.
Same.
That's really
Same.
cool.
Yeah.
When it can bring you back on stage.
Oh,
to
just
that,
take you
like,
right
Yeah,
there,
just
man. Take you right there.
Man,
And there's a lot of
Just
them
so
like
you know,
that.
just so you know, that's
Get
probably one of the
adrenaline
highest
rush every time you
compliments
see
a
a picture.
photographer
Yeah,
could get.
absolutely.
For this band, I can tell you exactly what show it is based on Lily's hair.
Yeah.
That's it.
Or
That's
lack
it.
thereof.
There is a whole life cycle of that hair.
Can we come back and talk about that?
We're gonna talk about the head shape show.
Oh, boy.
All right. Hey, we're gonna take a break. We'll be right back.
This is Steve with Lilly Milford.
Hello, Texas.
Are we recording yet?
Yeah. Are we?
Are we gonna clap it in?
Hello, Texas.
Hey, Texas. That was
So we got
great.
way off the subject there.
There we did.
Oh yeah.
So
Anyway,
So
there's that.
let's go back. Let's go back to why we're here. The album and actually releasing the album.
What is the name of the album?
Lily and the Implements.
So it's self-titled.
Who came up with the album art?
That's a good story.
That's kind of a placeholder until we can get the artist to get
It,
that.
it came from, I was driving back from Nashville and I stopped in Little Rock and for lunch, and I stumbled into this little shop called Electric Ghost, and they had a little store selling little knickknacks and t-shirts and stuff, but they were also a screen printing and design place. So that was a Sunday, they weren't open, so that Monday I called and was like, hey, I want to get t-shirts made for my band, and I like y'all's style. And that's the first thing they emailed me. I was like, I just want a black t-shirt with white, and that's what they sent me. So we just decided to use it for the lack of anything, a better idea,
Yeah, we really wanted it to be like an artist, just paint or draw whatever they want.
It's
We've
actually
got a
pretty
couple of
quick.
different ones that we've like. He's got a cousin. I've got a friend, Lainey. We're
So
gonna
the-
get that.
y'all know
We'll
so
get
the-
that done, and then
So
we'll
the
change
album
it.
that comes out's gonna have
Yeah,
something
when we
different.
do that, I hope to have the art done.
Y'all know Pecos?
I do.
McCool?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do not.
Okay.
I don't
his
either.
artwork.
He's
great.
man.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, he's
He
great.
did
Yeah,
American Merits.
yeah,
so-
one of them.
so- okay, that's off the subject.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll talk about that at the
Good
end.
talk.
So,
That's happened before.
so the album is 7 songs. Did y'all fight over which songs were going to be on there? And
No.
You used my cheat sheet?
No, we didn't. Honestly, I was like, the last gig we played was like December last year.
Yeah.
I was like, how do we not record that one?
Right.
There was so many Holiday Dream,
Yeah.
Stove. There's so many songs where I'm like, how do we not get those? Anyway, so
Just
I do-
real quick. I'd like to go with each one of you. Your favorite song.
Hush.
Favorite song.
Hush.
Favorite song.
Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
If I Go Away.
or Let Me Know.
Favorite song.
If I Go Away, that's my favorite song.
Yeah, it's a
Favorite
good
song.
If I Go Away or
or Firefly, or
Firefly. Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, let me go backwards. Let me go backwards.
Oh wait, what's yours?
Yeah, what's yours?
It's funny enough. Hollow actually got my attention because the beginning riffs of that kind of had this haunting. I don't know how to explain it.
You know what I thought
Yeah,
about
Hollow.
I thought it sounds like it should be on some sort of soundtrack to some.
Yeah, we was
Like a murder mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
something
I don't
like
know.
that.
I don't know how you explain it, man. You're just something. I dig those haunting kind of vibes. And I'm not a dark person or nothing like that. But whenever they're kind of, I don't know. Whenever you just kind of, you can just kind of listen to stuff. And then whenever their stuff just sort of stops.
I'm honestly most proud of my guitar part on that song. Like
Just the whole
that simple little.
Oh, that break.
That little run that I do.
That break is great. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just kind of, I don't know, man. That one set with me.
And Evan, when we're in the studio, I have this old Takamine, I don't know how you pronounce it. This guitar that I bought new in like 2005. It's all beat up, and he had tuned it down a whole step, and I was tracking all the acoustic parts after we, at the end of the session, and I was like, oh, I want to play the Takamine. He's like, oh, well, I tuned it a whole step down, and I was kind of like, you son of a bitch. And anyway, so I picked it up, and I was like, oh, well, that's in D minor. Well, I can just play an E minor. And that's the only song that I play that acoustic on, but it just
is in Hollow.
It gives it this huge, real big, deep sound.
Really,
and that's all thanks to this.
I must
guy.
have been.
But see, I almost sort of
did
kind of feel bad because mine wasn't none of y'all's. What's yours?
Anybody want to tell me what mine is?
Baby Jade.
yeah.
I have multiple favorite songs
Me
for
too.
multiple different
I know,
reasons.
The
I
reason,
say Hollow
the
too.
re-
I love that
and
song.
It just
I
kinda-
agree with
really
that.
just-
The reason I like Baby Jade
Does it?
though is
I
very
don't know about
personal because I've heard that song for
I
years.
know, it's like our OG thing.
And so in my head, it's a totally different song. And when y'all played it at Barrow, the very first show
That was the best.
is when I realized that this would work, because that was one of the best times that y'all played it. I think, in your opinion,
I've never been able to redo that.
and it changes every show, depending on the crowd, depending on y'all's mood. I mean, you can tell when it's a good show when that song is on.
I
And
actually,
it's
I
on more
remember,
time than
I
it's
remember
not.
some conversation Steve and I had. It was either that night or the next day, and I remember him just being over the moon about it and just kind of talking about, this is it. I don't know.
Is that the one you put the video up on?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first
And-
one we did.
'Cause I
And
started out, I was like, I forgot that I played the song Capo on like the 6th fret or something.
Is that what we did?
And so at the first that video, I'm just playing it in D or whatever, and I'm like, something's wrong. And so I like switch and capo up in like the middle of the song.
I kind of remember that. Does
I'm
that?
just wondering what was in the sauce that day.
And I know Steve and I always kind of have this idea of bands making it, whatever making it is, and that's defined by a lot of different things, I believe, and I know that conversation was that song all by itself. With any level of consistency, not necessarily to be played just like that, but with any level of consistency, that song by itself. This kind of goes back to us very much being armchair managers, producers, and everything else, but from our perspective, and I very much agreed with him, and I disagree with him often. Often.
Talking about If I Go Away, I don't think it's our first rehearsal, but maybe our second. But we spent like 8 hours.
Oh yeah, we did it.
We spent 8 hours on If I Go Away. Like we just
Really?
played it over and over and over, and just like until we got it right.
Time well spent.
And
But I want to go back to Baby Jade for a minute because there's a little secret in that, and it comes from, and it's in a lot of stuff. Newt, you'll like this because you'll get this. Wes and I played so much acoustic together, and our walk-ups and our walk-downs totally translated from acoustic to bass and guitar. So when you hear those walk-ups, that all comes from all the time we spent playing two acoustic guitars, and like we catch it on stage and we realize that we're doing what we just
I
always
didn't realize
did.
it until here lately, re-listening to the record.
Yeah,
since it's been released.
It's
and
fun.
Like,
it's really fun to hear.
It makes me appreciate what you're doing on the bass more and
Yeah.
more. Like I wasn't noticing
Ditto.
it back then, especially in the live shows, because I'm on the opposite end of the stage.
Yeah,
Worrying about your own stuff.
Yeah.
right.
So many times bass, I think, gets lost in everything else. But the way this is mixed and the way it's recorded, the rhythm side of this
Super strong.
is so balanced and it hits just right every single time. Every thump accentuates every bottom.
Right.
You know, and it's not, you know, but it is in perfect contrast to your highs and the crispiness of, you know, of the guitar.
I call them fat notes.
Just,
that's what they are.
God, they're so fat.
Hey, spelled with a PH.
And that's where a lot of that comes from, is all the time.
Yeah.
In a few years that
YouTube,
Wes and I spent with two, and we got to give a little bit of credit to Daryl Scott and Tim O'Brien, because we wore real time out, and we're always trying to play like that and follow those walk ups and walk downs. And I mean, we didn't like plan on picking up an electric and a bass. We really did not plan on it, and so we just did what we've been doing, and it really is so much fun. I wish we were doing it right now.
So that's what makes it flow.
Yeah.
And see, there's a lot of times, man, as a I don't know, as a fan, as an avid listener, we don't know. I'm kind of a Rush fan,
Yeah.
and you don't realize that there's some mechanics as to why their music is so attractive. You just know you like it. There's something familiar with it, and there's something that just bangs every time you hit it. You know, and
Sorry.
But I think that's kind of it with y'all as well. 'Cause
Well, and then,
you know, I listen to it. I want to listen to it again because it's just banging every time.
And then you take Lilly and add Lilly to that, and Evan, of course, but Lilly with this range, and there's this note that she hits, and it always makes me jump, even if I'm just listening to it. If I'm playing it or I'm just listening to it.
Because it comes in hard.
It makes me physically jump. It's almost, especially when we're on stage, because I feel like I'm like by Robert Plant or something. Like it's so powerful. It's been that way since the first time I heard her. It just like brings you off the ground.
But it
just
resonates because there's.
Well, it fuels what we're doing.
It holds you because she holds something there for just a second,
right
then all of a sudden it just and it just picks you
fuels
up.
how we drive behind her. I mean, it's just it's like.
See, I
Like
love
I said,
that.
it's got a mind of its
There's
own, and
there's
it's just pure magic.
The
is what it
scream
is.
that you do, Lily, on the tail end of Hush.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Like every time I just go, ah! Like,
It makes my
because
it makes
you
my
want to do
toes
it.
curl.
Yeah, because you want to do it with her.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm sunburnt, but also.
They're all talking.
No, but that is the coolest thing because you provide these. Sorry, I'm wearing this. You get these releases that we all wish we could. I think there's this release. I think we all wish
It feels great.
we could do.
Right,
You
right.
know,
and making
Everything.
whatever you guys did, making that record, the capturing that, you know, capturing a singer that can do that is rare. A lot of singers that can, you know, kind of go to
Take it to that place
it doesn't
where
make
nobody
it on
else
the
takes
record.
it.
They want, you know, they want to tame you. They want to like make
Play it
everything-
safe.
Yeah. It's secure. You know, they want it to be secure.
when you listen to it, it doesn't feel like y'all played it safe.
Well, that's the point, right? And that's what makes
Right.
great music great. That's why I
Agreed.
can throw on a Led Zeppelin record and I still rock out.
Yeah, because they didn't play it safe.
Yeah,
because they
I've heard
said,
it a
"Screw
million
this, we're gonna do it
times.
how we want to do it."
Yeah.
I wanted to blow up, but it became a little difficult at times. I was trying to stay out of my head and just let it go.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why I wanted to redo the vocals, is because I didn't feel like I did that. So to hear that you're hearing that on it is really great for me.
Hell yeah,
Thank
man.
you. 'Cause I was
Good job,
afraid I
Lily.
didn't get it.
It's amazing.
Your live shows are great. And I worried before y'all recorded this that it was going to be a vanilla version of your live show, and it's not. It's
Often, that's really what
why they
happens.
Is that not
most of
scary?
the time.
Yeah, that's what we were just saying.
95% of the time.
That's one
And-
thing Chet said. He's like, you know, like you guys sound in there the same way you sound on stage,
Right.
and he liked that.
He did say that.
Melissa and I talk about that a good bit. I have a heavy appreciation for live music or live recordings, and too many times, and I've sort of learned that from Melissa. You know, we've been to so many concerts, and when you listen to a lot of artists, and no knock on any of them, but whenever you listen to those same songs live, whether you see it live or you listen to it live, and then you hear the studio version. It's that. I don't always have a great desire to listen to a studio version.
Well, there's a lot of bands that I love from the '80s. Is what comes to mind. Where I fell in love with the studio versions of the song and went to go see them in concert and realized, oh, they suck.
Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite.
Yeah, so they needed that studio version.
Yeah, they needed all the processing because.
But isn't that what's
live-
great about Texas music, y'all? Because so many of these artists, whether that's your bag or not, whenever they're live, it's almost always a good show.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
And
always
you know what?
transfer
A
to
lot
a
of the country
recording.
guys are.
That all the
Kinda
bands that we
opposite.
just listed that you played with, I'll put in that category too. Especially Edie, the Quails, and Turnpike. It's the three that just.
It's
If I had
because
to make
that
a list.
comes from a work ethic of they're making their name and they're living by touring.
Yeah.
Instead of selling records and then touring to sell records.
Right.
Inventing music.
You know,
or
like
whatever.
it's the flip side.
You know
That's
what?
the-
We
yeah.
we talk a
reality.
lot about the difference between what Texas country is and Nashville country is, and it doesn't matter. But I think that's kind of something that we've never explored before. Is the Nashville country is
How many
touring
albums
to
can,
support an
how
album.
many, how many albums can we
whereas
sell?
A lot of the Texas artists are.
How many
are-
tickets can we
Yep.
sell?
Man, that
Oh, I've not. Oh, that's
I just
completely new
I just
rabbit
had
hole.
that
Time out on that one. Let's bag that because that's a we gotta dig into that.
we that's our
I need
main
time with
that's
that.
our main conversations in private and public is what is Texas music, because y'all aren't country, y'all aren't rock, y'all are Texas music, but y'all all of that, but what is even that? And I think you just hit the nail on the head. You just opened up a whole new chapter of that book.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Sorry, let me
wanna-
come out of my rabbit hole.
Wow,
I
That's thank you.
that'll be the
Such a simple idea.
that'll be the 45-second clip of this that we put on just separate. So
And with me just in deep thought.
I want to say something. I want to tell y'all something. Just my personal opinion, and I don't go to a lot of shows, but the best show that I've seen, probably in 8 or 10 years, are the Reed Brothers. The Reed Brothers are the toughest. You know what? In the world. Well, they're in Canyon Lake, but they're all over the place. They're just amazing. I mean, it makes you feel like you're going back in time to when people thought about it a whole different way. You know, it's just unbelievable. So I got to plug those guys any chance
Reed
I
Brothers,
get. The
for
Reed
sure.
Brothers, Kyle and Keegan.
Yeah,
They're
good people.
amazing.
let's go. You have a favorite live act that you like to go see? I mean, you have some friends that are some of my favorite live acts. So
I'd go ahead and say Brian, off the top of my head.
yeah.
Yeah.
White.
Brian
Brian
White,
White.
formerly the Damn Quail. I guess not formerly. They're still
He's
the
a
Damn
damn
Quail.
whale.
Bunch of quail.
And you were with the Quails. That's a band that played in this bar right here. That this bar was made for the Damn Quails, and before y'all came along. That's my soundtrack is the Damn Quails. That's so many
He's so great.
musicians
They're
have
great.
come through that band
Yeah.
and have gone on to others that it's just amazing to me that happened that way.
The casualness and the everybody was kind of friends and just knew each other. Norman as a community, as a music scene.
I'm so jealous of that. They're the coolest.
Yeah.
I've heard.
We kind of
amazing
have
I know,
that
I've
here.
heard so much.
We kind of have that here. We got the
But that-
like the
there's something
like the
special
Dalton
over there.
Domino area, Lubbock
Love.
scene.
It's brotherly
the
love, man. It's just all it was. All it is. That's all. That's
I think Lubbock gets some of that.
We talked to Michael Mode and like
Yeah.
the Randall King, Dalton Domino. They're all
There's a little circle right there that they're all kind of.
they were friends way before anybody ever knew who they were. And,
Yeah.
I think that's happening here a little bit. I think it's happening in Waco a little bit. And
Right. It seemed to happen in Oklahoma more often
Yeah.
because it was such a smaller
Everybody's
scene.
together.
Right.
Yeah, I
Tighter
think
knit
so.
community.
We're not an hour.
Well,
so
I
away
was
from each
around
other.
Waco like 21, 22 years ago
Yeah,
for a
man,
little
that's
while.
a music scene.
I hung out for about a year and a half, and it's so different. But then there's still some of those guys that were around, and it seems like to me, and you kind of came along as I went south. But it seems like to me there's a lot of like circling back and people getting together and people. It's kind of
So
it
I
seems
just-
like it's come together.
I recently just done some, and I'm working on a documentary project for Sloppy Joe Band, and a lot of people kind of,
great.
yeah, they are,
Yeah.
and they just had like a 26-year
Yeah,
anniversary
been around
gig,
for a while.
and they're mainly they're cover band, if you will, and I learned some things from that.
That was the first local band. I remember being, it's probably about 99, 2000.
Dude,
And my cousin.
that's exactly
I
it.
have a cousin that was a couple years older than me. He's like, man, Gotta go out to Waco
they
and catch sloppy Joe.
have this reputation. It's from around that time, 20-ish years ago, whenever they were kind of pounding it away. And you start realizing some of the talent that's played with those guys through the years. And whenever you realize what it takes to kind of play those covers, and I say that facetiously because I've heard people kind of bag on them a little bit, and I kind of gained this whole new appreciation. You get in Brian Brown's band, he gives you a playlist of like 200 and something songs and says, hey, we'll see you next week. There's your introduction to it. And I think during that time,
you know a lot about that kind of thing.
during that time, 20-ish years ago, they weren't the only ones. They had to be hot because there was a lot. Yeah. There was a lot banging around Waco at that time.
Just this morning, I was talking back and forth with Paul Miller, and I don't know if y'all know.
I know who Paul Miller is.
And I said, man, you need to bring Freddie back. We need some Kusong. We need some blues, And he said, wow, that's crazy. I've been thinking about that. Wouldn't that just be the greatest thing? I remember walking into, what did they call it before it was Treff's? 6-Shooter Junction.
Yeah. We talked about Treff.
And Kusong was doing Mr. Pitiful. The Otis song. When I walked in, he was doing Mr. Pitiful, and I was like, "Whoa!" I was like 19.
So there's some of those guys. There's some of those guys that are still playing like some really small stuff around Waco.
Yeah.
That are banging out some blues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Man, and
we always
I
need
met
to
so many
encourage-
of those people, and I can't remember their names.
We always need to encourage Russian Steel to get out and do more.
Russian Steel.
Absolutely.
Russian, come on now.
Here,
Just get back to the songs.
Yes.
okay.
Sorry.
Let's go.
My
Let's
bad.
make sure we touch on all of them because I'm not sure. If I Go Away is the opening song, which I think is a great choice to introduce
That's a
y'all.
hit song.
He put that.
Yeah,
That's a
I
hit
think
song.
I think it's a great choice to put up front.
Like, if that thing, if I can kill enough people to get that thing on the radio,
Yeah,
that's gonna change you
That'll
guys'
be the one.
life. It's a hit.
encapsulates who y'all are. I think more than any other songs. Not that it's the best song on anything or the worst song on anything. It's just an all around hit song. You're
It's
right.
all from that one day we spent.
It's like I said, we spent like 8 hours on that song.
Was that the hardest
Is
one to
that the
record?
one?
Yeah,
8 hours.
Fire
That's the
Road.
one.
Not
That
on
was the
recording
first one
it.
we-
When
Not
we were
recorded,
like
no, at
figuring
the
out how we
house.
wanted
yeah,
to
yeah.
do
It was like
it.
our second day together playing, and we spent like
I remember you telling us about
That was
that.
like the
We
process
brought it
of
out
finding
in 8
like
hours.
the sound.
You wrote-
Because it wasn't really
thing.
constructed completely but with anybody except for on FaceTime or
You
whichever
wrote
we
the
were
song with
using.
somebody in Australia, right?
Yeah, like I met this guy. He's in Australia. He's from here.
I didn't even know this.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was in
I was-
Texas, Australia, working on his dissertation, and we're just like writing the song on FaceTime.
No,
I think it was.
I think that's brilliant.
And so we never it never really was, I just knew that it was like this. I think I tried it a couple of times at an open mic, and it just never really had any glue
Didn't feel
in it.
right. Yeah.
And then so we spent that time working on that, and it was so much fun.
so
Yeah,
much
it was
fun.
fun.
I used to have
love playing bass
two
too.
parakeets.
Yeah,
and my
Travis
daughters.
Franks, by the way. So.
Yeah.
We had and I've got a bunch. I have a whole
yeah.
bunch of recordings on my phone. Just I had a little Shure mic that I plug into my phone and I just record while we're rehearsing. And all those recordings, you hear those birds. But yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, you can.
We should have brought them.
Some
to
of
the
it's
wall.
on.
I guess we could.
Some of it's
Well,
on
rest in
tape.
peace.
Yeah.
They're no longer with us.
But yeah, that guy's name is Travis Franks, though, by the way.
Thanks, Travis Franks.
What does he think?
He
of
did the
song?
beginning. I did the second verse.
Do you know if he's heard
And
it?
then, I actually sent it to him today, and he said it sounded good, and he was happy for us, and he
Good.
said he liked it.
Nice.
He said it was good to hear.
Learn something every day.
All right, second song, Let Me Know.
Also co-write
When
those two.
I say fat notes, that's what this song is for me. When you come in with that guitar riff at the beginning, I'm like, I think that's Wes Perryman. No?
Well, I already told you the story on how that came to be earlier about the Chris Isaac.
Right.
That's where the fat notes came in
We're good.
Yep.
on that one.
No, I just lost a light.
Oh yeah, we did.
Can I pee?
This is Steve with Becky and Melissa.
Hello, Texas!
Hello, Texas. We're back. We're going to wrap this thing up. We're talking to Lilly and the Implements with Giovanni
Carnuccio.
What?
Carnuccio.
Carnuccio.
Not Narnuccio.
Carnuccio. That's a fun name.
Doc Holliday.
We're here with
That
Nooch.
is a lot.
Here we
Carnuccio.
So we would.
The third.
So did we finish getting through Let Me
We-
Know?
we were talking
Because
about Let Me
8
Know.
hours.
8 hours to arrange it.
To
Oh, that was
arrange-
if I
That
go
was
away.
if
That
I
was
go
if I go
away.
away.
If I go away. That was the
I
first
think
Okay,
that was
so
all
now-
to arrange it, but also because we just were having so much
We were
fun
just-
playing it that
We
day.
just kept
Great
playing
And
it
we're getting
over
like
and
their
over and over.
harmonies.
Yeah.
Two of them figuring out.
So that was.
We got those figured out.
They were stealing my harmony.
So that was the birth. That was birth of the implements, basically. Is on that song is.
So Let Me Know is the next one.
It was a Fat Note song.
Oh, is that the one with the fat notes?
Yeah.
Let
Okay.
me know, co-write.
That was the other one. So those two are the only two with co-writes. Was it the same guy from Australia?
No, this is my old buddy Dennis Burt. We used to knock around playing music sometimes. When I first met him, I wasn't playing music at all, but we caught up years later, and we'd all hang out at my apartment at Apple Creek in Temple. And my neighbors didn't care if we stayed up all night long playing music. In fact, if we would leave for like a weekend to go somewhere else and play, they were missed.
Wow.
It was cool. So it was very accepting of us just hanging out. And one night I was trying to get that song out. I couldn't figure out. I'd already had the beginning. And Dennis helped me write that one.
Nice.
And I'm honored because he's one of my favorites too. He still plays around sometimes. He actually married the drummer from Hangar 24's daughter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they got a kid now. Happy life.
Wow. So the next one on the album
Fox's
is
daughter?
Hush.
Phil Fox, no, the drummer was Chris Smith in the beginning.
Okay, so there was one before I got to know you.
Phil doesn't have kids that I know
I
of.
thought I was like, wait a minute, that's not really mathematically possible. Okay.
So,
go ahead.
Nope.
Great lyricist, Dennis Burt.
Song number 3, Hush. Yeah. It's like one of you. All
Nope,
y'all's
your neighbor said yeah.
It's definitely the heaviest song
Definitely.
on the record.
Definitely.
Yeah.
My adjective was haunting.
I think that song was definitely like
It is haunted.
Delving into dynamics because it starts out so, it's still haunting, but it's it's way chill, and then when you bust into the it just goes up and down.
That's
You
the
killed
that's
it
the
on that,
Gresh,
man.
right?
Like just, I mean, all of you.
That was that? No, that was a Jaguar on that, right?
Is that the Jag or
was
the
it-
Gresh?
No, he didn't have the Jaguar.
I didn't buy the Jaguar until we got that
Okay.
really good birthday party gig.
This is totally
It was the
musician
Gretsch
talk
thing.
right
I
here.
love it.
What was it?
That's so
What is
good.
It was
it?
the Gretsch.
You know what guitar
He
you're playing on each
captured
song.
exactly what was in my.
Yeah, the Gretsch was my go-to until we played a show at Staygold in Austin, and there was a couple that was in the crowd, and they emailed us the next day.
We've heard the
And
story
they paid
before
us-
on Hello Texas. Yeah.
They paid us really good money. Anyways, I
they
bought
paid us so
that
good.
Jaguar with my
Gig
cut
money.
from that show,
That's so cool.
and that quickly turned
You can buy a
into
guitar with
my
gig money
my
now?
go-to guitar for the band for sure.
You just said that he captured
He did, yeah.
what you envisioned that to be.
Yeah, I did that. I didn't even know. Like, I didn't even know that that's what I felt about it. Like, just that. It's so angry and wild, just completely insane and beautiful, and makes me feel exactly what I want.
I don't know if I've said this enough or at all when we in these interviews, but like Lily's songs, like getting, because I've been kind of in a dry spell creatively in writing. And I get like I don't even like playing guitar by myself. I just get so like, what's the point? It's like and so her coming with all these songs and just getting to just to kind of just fill in and color and just kind of like it was just what I needed, man. It's so much fun.
Well, and I think y'all met at a crossroads because your lyrics are kind of emotional, and you was very
Kind
much
of.
yeah. And I'm being maybe a little underwhelming in that statement, and you was at a kind of is a rocky place. Is that sufficient?
Yeah.
It's been described as a whiskey trench.
Yeah, I like that. You said that.
And so I can see you coming along offering some either some enableization or some encouragement and some wisdom maybe, or maybe a little bit of both.
With Wes, I don't care what we're doing. I don't care what we're doing. There's just something. We've got something that we don't even have to say. We don't have to talk. It's just there, and everything else is just kind of to the side. But I mean, same thing. I was kind of hiding from a divorce at the same time. I was hiding out at his farm. Not really hiding out, but kind of hiding out.
I feel that.
And I was stale too as a songwriter. Like I said, we would write these little things and go, hey, check this out, and they'd be like, well, that sounds like blah blah blah. And we were doing that, and so.
But that brutal honesty.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we have scars from it. I have scars from the brutal honesty, but
I was too.
yeah. But I will say this about what
Y'all think y'all were harsh with one another?
sometimes
Yeah.
we were all going through really
Who's
hard.
the biggest
rough,
diva?
I
weird
don't think
times.
there were a lot of fights, unless we were talking about Alex Jones or something.
I'd say Evan's the
diva?
biggest diva.
Oh,
my God.
I'm
Do a
fucking
curveball.
leaving.
Do a curveball. there.
Great. Good job, y'all.
I love you, buddy.
So you come in and you drop these just fat beats. You're laying this low end down, and y'all are kind of going through this shit together.
Yeah.
Do you think this song is a good representation of a culmination of all of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, not just, whether that's your favorite song or not your favorite song,
It's the biggest release for sure.
Yeah.
but that being the one that y'all had all those emotions meet.
Especially live.
100.
Especially live.
So
I think
awesome.
this shows off all four of you more than any of the other songs. I mean, everybody's got their part in this song. Was it hard to mix all of that? Because it alternates from different
He
places.
didn't mix it.
Or was it hard to
Right.
master?
Oh,
Sorry.
No. Because it's all there already. You know what it's supposed to sound like. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some things you have to really math it out because you're like, oh, this needs to be a little. We need to lift into the chorus. We need to. This is not. This whole record is not that. This whole record, everything is there.
So the guy that mixed it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he did
And-
a great job, but also for the specifics of things and whatnot, you get into there.
We came into the session as a live band, and we worked our parts out to where when we showed up at the studio, we did it all in 3 days. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
and
we
you
kinda
and
knew
I,
what-
we've
yeah.
had discussions. The three of us had discussions. It was very important to y'all to go in and not be all right, Evan's going to go in. He's going to lay his tracks down. John's going to go in. He's going to lay his tracks down. You're going to go in. It was very important that it not be that for y'all,
Right.
because
It couldn't
back
be.
in the day,
Right, I agree.
It would be impossible.
they showed up and they played.
Yeah.
Kind of that Muscle Shoals
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
put it together, sort
Yes.
of.
Definitely.
Evan, I don't really think you're a diva at all.
I know.
I don't either.
He is kind
Yeah, I
of.
was gonna
He is
say,
kind of
that was
pretty.
the
though.
curveball.
He is pretty. So.
He is the prettiest one.
He is pretty. Yeah.
All right, next track, Firefly. It's
Yeah.
another one that y'all, and I've watched y'all play this live and know it's one of y'all's favorite songs because I can see y'all look down at the set list and go,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
We just
say-
did it now.
I'll say
we
this.
just did it now just talking
Right.
about
I'll
it.
say this: Firefly is my favorite John part.
Yeah.
So
We get real funky.
especially you, man.
Brings
You're
out my
funky on
funk.
that thing.
you
Shit.
enjoy playing
Oh,
bass?
I love it. And you know what's so crazy about it? And I'll make it quick. I had played, when I had my studio in Spicewood, I'd played on my stuff, played bass, when I could stop and start and cut and paste and all that stuff. And a dear friend of mine, Mike Beck, from Monterey, California, called me and he said, we'd worked together. I'd done a bunch of sound for a band he was playing in. And he says, I want you to go on the road with me. I want you to come play with the Bohemian Saints. We're going to tour. And I was like, dude, I can't do that. I can't play bass like that. And I was so scared. And he said, well, you got a month to learn everything. And so I learned everything from another bass player off of his records, And I went out and we did the thing. And I was always saying, I wish I could do this and I wish I could do this. But I was playing somebody else's part. And I really wasn't that good, But what we did with this is because we were just like building these from just the ground up,
Scratch, yeah.
I got to make these parts. And I started hearing, because I love bass players. I love Danko and Duck Dunn and so many. I started hearing my influences come out. And it was like, oh my God, that's what I wanted to do. And this allowed me to become a bass player.
Now, at the very beginning of this, you made it very clear that one of the first things you said whenever they said, hey, John, we need a bass player. What was your response?
I remember I was sitting on that little couch by the stairs, and I looked up at it, the Continental.
Yeah.
The Continental. I looked up at this bass we call the Continental that was hanging on the wall, and I was like, I'm not fucking playing bass. I just didn't want to. Like I still had all that.
For the kids in the back,
I still
he
had all
said,
that angst.
I'm not playing fucking bass.
And then like I heard they're like messing around, and Evan is there, and his kit's set up, and they're messing around, and it was like, oh wow, I have to play bass. And I had to, like I just had to, and it was so much fun. And it's
I just want to give the Continental a little bit of love. It was a Squire.
it was
Squire.
behind the couch in the Airstream for like a year.
And we
I was
went out
like,
to the
John's like, we need a
trash
bass.
can
Like, I
grab
think
the
there's one in your Airstream, man.
There's one in the
I was like,
Airstream
look behind
behind the couch.
He's like, you're not kidding. There's a bass back there. But anyways, it was having electrical problems, and the
my
volume
gosh.
knobs weren't working and stuff. And So I took it all apart one day and just used some wire nuts. And I just went directly from the pickups to the jack. No knobs.
No knobs.
And so I took the knobs out, and then the reason why I call it the Continental is there's an old Lincoln Continental out in the pasture.
Still there, right?
And I pulled the chrome decal, the logo,
Yeah.
and I put it on the pick guard to where it says just Continental, this huge across the bottom of the bass.
And now,
so that's what we call it, the knobless Continental.
Yeah.
and now,
That is sick.
now it's sitting in my son's room. He's learning how to play bass on
the
that
Continental.
bass. Yeah. And when I brought over my other one with knobs, he was like, "Well, what do these do?" Because the one he plays doesn't have any knobs on it.
One more note on Firefly. When we were recording that, after a take, Chet Himes, he looked up at and he said, "I didn't know they had swamps around Moody."
Okay, so listen, I want to get this out. I want to make sure it's clear. Rolling Stone, whenever you're doing your piece on them, either before or after their big worldwide tour, you need to understand that come out on Hello Texas first, okay? Try me. Okay, sorry.
What's next?
Baby Jade.
Yay.
We talked a little about this. It's my favorite live song that y'all play because I've watched it grow. Was it hard to change it from the way?
It just happened.
Yeah, I could see that.
That was one of the first ones we played that day, and it just, out of all of them, that's my favorite transformation.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, what's happening?
Well,
This is amazing.
as a fan, to hear that song, it's a totally different song before Lilly and the Implements. So I became a fan of yours a lot through that song. And then to hear y'all play it that first time, and I'm like, what the hell is this? This Baby Jade on fire.
I just started singing like Wild, and they were playing like Wild, and that was the first time I ever started trying to sing like that. Usually I'd try to keep it,
So I've gone back and found you singing it.
Let's not talk. Don't look at that.
Right. I don't know if it's my own video I didn't post. I may have posted it, but
So we're clear. I had nothing to do with it if it comes out.
But it's a totally different song, and I can't imagine how it sounded before unless I go back and listen to it. So
just to be clear, you do like the version of Baby Jade, right?
Yeah. Sorry. We were talking about the transformation of the song.
Yeah.
Y'all were the ones that pressed me. I wasn't going to go into it. I just say it.
All right, moving on before we get talk into a corner. Hollow is number 6.
So, just you said earlier, this song had something. There's something about it.
Well, the way that it's done, the way that they made it, but just writing it felt really good. Sad. We'll use Haunting again. I just started doing all these residencies around Austin, and I hadn't moved there yet, but those were the reasons why I did go there. And what year was this? When all the flooding was happening, and Luke and Bob got tore
that was like
everywhere.
17.
We were losing people. We never found people.
Yeah, somewhere in there. 16
And
maybe?
Yeah.
I was just drinking whiskey and looking out the window, and everything's just storming. And my friends had lost friends. The whole family was washed away. It's just the craziest thing. And that one was just sad to make, but I felt like really that helped me unpack my feelings about everything that was happening.
And it is haunted. That one's
and
definitely
I feel like
haunted.
we can go kind of over the same scenarios for every song, but I really want to give a shout out to Evan on that one. I think you really kind of set the tone on that whole song.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the change in the drive.
Yeah, towards the end where it
Yeah.
picks up.
Well, you're able to put just the max amount of emotion and feeling into each of these songs without even like being upset already, like, because you were pretty happy we were all going through some shit, but you're fine, right? But like you were still matching our freaking angst and everything.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good song on the album where it's placed after Baby Jade and before the last song Bones. It just kind of changes the gears because I think we'll go to track number 7, Bones, which is another brilliant move because I think when you're finished with Bones, I think you mentioned it when you came in, you asked a question about it.
Yeah.
You remember that.
Yeah.
Well, the
that melody in
transition,
there.
but you go from you go into Hollow with this really deep, sad, kind of dark vibe, and then there's this transition that from hollow to bones that unless you're looking for it, man, it moves into it really well, you know. And I don't know if that was by chance or if that was by design.
Put them in order.
I think it's pretty fun because most of the shows we played together, Bones was always our first song.
Because you're like right here to start with the pack.
So it's really interesting to have it at the end, and I like it. It's
Yeah.
Excellent choice
and then we would
in
always
ordering.
do let me.
Yeah, you
not
can
let
do
me,
it.
sorry,
And I know
yeah.
you just complimented Evan, but that's actually the one where I.
Yeah, we haven't given enough credit to the
But, you know, and it's kind of crazy because we just talked about, you know, all the emotions and everything that you guys are kind of going through. We're talking about, you know, the culmination of life on, you know, kind of happening on Hush, you know, and at the end of the day, y'all kind of been through the ditches, and here's Evan over here, just happy-go-lucky, good-looking guy, and he's like, "Hi,
myself into."
Evan was going through his stuff too.
He was not in the beginning. He was happy.
Well, I mean, everybody's got their stuff, you know. Everybody's got their stuff.
We're all happy again now,
I will say this as a songwriter myself. Like, there are things I can communicate.
Not on
There are things I can communicate in a song that I couldn't sit here and tell you. And I think I'm gonna speak for Lilly and say that she can do that too. Like, things that you can't just sit right here and say. Singing and writing, it's a way to express yourself. Like Wes and I always joke about all of our songs are kind of sad, but it's a way of expressing things that I couldn't sit down and talk to you about.
Right.
And I've always gotten the feeling from Lily's songs that it's kind of the same thing. It's a way to express things that you know.
So I'm kind of curious, Evan.
Yeah.
You kind of coming in this maybe from a little bit of a different perspective than these guys. Maybe you weren't really kind of feeling some of the pains or whatever. What, from the outside looking in, what do you think made you click with what? Because you can't just throw it in there.
Just these people are great.
Could you feel and sympathize kind of the song?
I agree with that.
Yeah, he can just put himself in there. And
I don't know. I guess hearing the songs and like being a part of them, just the emotion and just tying into that and being able to tap into that, like, I could be as happy as I could be, but when I'm like with them playing, like it just kind of meshes in there, and that's. I don't know.
Does it make you sad? But you feel.
No,
it.
yeah, I'm not. I don't necessarily just get sad, but
you feel it.
Yeah,
it's funny because
he expresses it for sure.
Yeah, because I watched you play, and just like we talked about each one of you guys, how you are here. I've watched you play, and some people play, and some people are in it.
Yeah.
And you're one of those guys that are in it.
Thank you.
And
that's the unique thing about y'all as a group.
Well, there's an energy thing that happens. It's bigger than any word you're saying, any note you're playing.
Well,
it's a projection of energy.
Yeah.
More than any band that I can think of, that you can hear all four different influences in there. In that, if one of y'all's not playing, like I think somebody filled in for you one night, and
Lucas.
it was Lucas.
I was laid up in Oklahoma.
It sounded different.
In a hospital.
Right. We were worried about you then.
But it's not. But it's not a bad thing. It sounded.
No,
different.
it's not bad. It's different though. So the four of y'all together are not interchangeable pieces. Y'all are the implements. I mean, y'all.
But you know that from a marketing standpoint, the consistency that shows in your playing and your style. You know, that's the brand that y'all build on. You know, just right there.
The important
you
thing.
know that, right?
Oh, I know shit.
I know what I know is that from a marketing standpoint, you don't catch lightning in a bottle by meaning to catch lightning in a bottle.
No, absolutely.
Like, you don't make music like this for that.
Right.
You know, then you can't. As soon as you compromise the one for the other, then you lose the thing that made it cool to begin with. And that's just funny, man. That's just funny.
I think it's just an amazing feat that
you love your grandma's cooking because it's not in Chili's. You know?
No kidding, right?
That's a good line.
Yeah.
But you know, and I guess a good takeaway on that is if any one of you ever got a head big enough to go, well, you can't do this without me. You know what? That one of you would be absolutely right, because none of you could do it without one of you.
We've said that.
There's no replacements, really.
It would be so weird.
And
not to say it couldn't be done, but
y'all all do
it would be
your,
very different.
Y'all all do your own thing away from Lilly and
There's no
Implements.
replacement.
That's
We'll never do the
y'all
same
did
with that
before
one.
and you are after.
We all play solo, and don't let Evan fool you. Evan is an excellent songwriter.
Oh
too.
yeah, I wanted to
What's
say
the
that earlier
what's
when we were
what's the
talking.
name of the song about the drill that you sang? You know what I'm talking about.
I think I just called it the drill song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
You got up and played that, and I was like, "Well, what the hell did that come from?"
Yeah.
And then that's when I realized you were a songwriter, and
Man, those were
Yeah.
good times.
and the fact
yeah,
that I
they
can
were-
remember the dang song, what it was about. Most
Yeah.
people get up, I'm like, "That was a good song." I don't remember what it was.
You know, it's
but-
one of the things I remember. I remember seeing y'all play at what was the place down in Austin?
Saxon Pub.
Saxon
Yeah.
Pub.
That was
And-
Very,
great.
very
That was a
memorable show for me.
And
Great night. Great
and it seems like I remember you played some stuff. You know, it was your song that you kind of led the song. Then you didn't you play something and you
You
played
did.
something.
You did, yeah.
Probably
Y'all,
Mud.
y'all switched
That's what we
I
switched
guitars.
out.
Oh,
forget.
yeah.
I
we do
forget
switch.
that each one of y'all. Do y'all do that normally in the set? Do y'all
Yeah,
kinda,
we always do.
Like you'll sing a song, you'll sing. You know, do y'all
Wes
do
will,
that?
Wes will play
There's
bass,
John
and I'll
and
play
Wes
electric.
time. I'll jump down from the stage and let them go.
For
Yeah.
a long time, we only had like an hour and a half, or maybe an hour, and you get hired for like a 3-hour gig. So
You
it's
got to
like,
do something.
Yeah,
What do
stop
we do?
that.
So we
You
do.
got to
there was
cover
like
the Bee Gees.
Then I'm
Half-
covering the
half-
B's and ELO.
half the hour was like here, and then half the hour was here, and in the middle we did like
I love
4
Showboat.
songs a
And-
piece
Because we don't want to
acoustic.
do a lot of covers. We throw in like
Yeah.
one. We
So,
do that for
I mean,
a while,
Russian's
and
a
then
big
try
part of the
different
show.
one, but one
Oh,
of the
yeah.
songs-
So
well, we
do
cover
each
Russian.
one? What if? Here's armchair managing. I mean, what if there was a song that was your song?
Yes, sir.
Y'all played it. Your song, y'all played it. Your song, y'all played it.
Yeah,
Is that? I mean, I know that's.
that's essentially what we were doing.
We-
That was
I mean, I
our,
know
that's
that's
your,
not
that's your
Lilly
live,
and the Implements.
That's your
but-
live show,
But
but
that's
it,
a.
Well, it's all
As
it's
a-
all
as a-
Lilly and the Implements.
as a live band, that was something I enjoyed. That any one of y'all at any time could get up and take
Take
the lead. The album is your songs and
Man, that's
and
some
how
Fleetwood
y'all
Mac stuff.
interpreted it, which is great. That's a band. It's not just Lilly Milford and then having
And I
backup.
love that. Golly, I
No,
it's
everything-
it's a
since-
family. It's a family, and you can hear it on the album.
I can
so.
say from the first time we heard her sing, I think that our whole objective became outside of our egos, just to totally back those songs up and be.
To support that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll mirror the first time that I got to photograph you with Hangar 24. I'm like, I'm here for Lilly Milford, and so that's what I hear on the album is just.
But in y'all's live show, it becomes a support each other.
Oh, yeah.
kind of thing.
Oh yeah. There's no way I would want to be the one.
Yeah, after we
singer.
get started,
Want
it
all
just
of
turns
us.
into the living room. Is what
Yes, we want to take that couch on stage one day.
Wes has the most amazing, magical living
We've been there.
room.
We know.
Yeah,
they've
and
done it.
oh, that's
Golly.
right. Y'all did the thing there, but
We were so comfortable we divided it up into 2 shows.
any time we can tap into the vibe of that room, no matter where we are. I can be by myself on stage and think about the room. I mean, it's I can hear a
Totally
record.
understandable.
I can hear a record in my house, which sounds great, but it's like shit.
picking up
I
on
want to
this?
hear that at the farm. I want to hear it at Wes's. You know, that room is a
Have you
big
been to
part
his
of it.
house?
Not yet.
Yeah, you need to go see the room.
We're making
We
it.
need, we need,
It's been
we-
discussed.
we need to
We
figure, we need to
viewing
figure out how to
of
make
the
that a
summer.
set.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
to bring him out.
Oh, for sure.
We need to play.
Just make that a set. Just make a set. Y'all's part of y'all's show. That's part of the production.
Yeah.
But
Where
We're getting long on time.
Yeah.
You wanna
Well,
wrap it up?
man, not really, but I guess it's time. I
Yeah, I
mean,
could do this all day.
How long is this going to be?
We-
yeah, but we're probably going to be pushing probably about a total of an hour and a half or so.
Okay.
You know, once we get done. I mean, I don't chop out a lot of stuff. I like it to, you know, I like it to flow. You know, I'll probably take me thinking about Texas music and Nashville music in that pondering moment. I'll take that out. But anyway,
That was deep.
Why? That was the best part.
Yeah, leave everything.
So we want to thank y'all for showing up on a Sunday.
make sure you cut out the thing about my foot fungus.
That was the second best.
I don't even remember where it was at.
I don't remember that either.
Great.
I got that.
We want to thank Nooch for being here. I just,
Yes.
Thank you,
man.
man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
The newest
matter of
implement.
time, we're gonna pump your album just as much. So,
Man, thank y'all so much.
We got-
Yeah, I want to thank Nooch.
Victoria around here somewhere.
Beyond. And Victoria.
Thank you, Cody, for opening up the bar
Thank
for
you,
us. So
O'Brien.
Cody.
there wasn't a more fitting place to do this.
It
You
is
know,
the place.
really, you know,
As
definitely.
much as Wes Perryman's living room is home, this is also a home.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it is.
There's so many moments in this room for I think for everybody, but me included.
You know, I don't get to come down here much, but the shows I've come down here, O'Brien's has always had this warm environment, you know, and it just
the staff
kudos
here,
to those guys.
I mean, this bar over
That's where I
here.
started.
Yeah, I mean, so many people started. We'll do a shout out to TW Sullivan.
I was going to say it's weird to be here and not
Who's
see
that?
Yeah, yeah. The reason TW is not here is because it'd be a 5-hour podcast.
Yeah. Love you, TW.
His podcast is coming. We just got to charge the batteries.
Better
We'll
bring
probably do it
backups.
right here too.
Yeah, probably. Man, thank y'all so much, especially
thank
for
you.
the stories
Yeah, thank
and kind of, I don't know, y'all sort of explain. I don't know if you can really explain it, but y'all gave a lot more insight just on the overall vibe of who y'all are and kind of how y'all brought it together. And for me, whenever I listen to it, it'll completely change how I listen to it, especially having some of the backstory. It's funny how that does, how that works. Whenever you get the
I've
stories.
had copies of the songs for quite a while,
Yeah.
and I've had the sound memorized, and I got to say, listening to it on the headphones on Spotify. After it got live, I'm like, it's completely different. Yeah. I mean, it's still the same songs, but
It's amazing.
And listen,
Nooch did a wonderful job, and I'm a sound Nazi. Like I don't like things that don't sound right. I don't like things that aren't right, and he nailed it.
Yeah.
You did, man.
I'm looking forward to the album. I want to hear the noise. I want to hear the white noise. I want to hear it crackle a little bit.
Listen for the floor tom on Hollow.
Oh man.
Hey, what's the one where it just ends with that?
Oh, yeah.
Big chord.
That's on Hush, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's so great.
I got a stereo, by the way. It's
real
a
quick.
1987 realistic.
What's that?
Time out. I want to give Nooch a second.
Okay. All right.
Nooch,
You and me both.
Nooch, your shirt, Brian Berline.
Byron Berlin.
Let's talk about him real quick.
Talk about him real quick.
Yeah.
It's worth the time.
Okay. Real quick. What is it? Late 40s, early 50s. Flat and Scruggs record deal. Bluegrass becomes a thing, right? Well, bluegrass goes away by the end of the 50s because the hillbilly moniker was kind of disappearing from things, and that
hippies took over banjo music.
Well,
That's mid '60s.
yeah, that's mid 60s. But the reason why hippies took over banjo music was this guy right here. His band Country Gazette brought bluegrass back. And his kind of whole shtick was doing things that were sort of modern marketing with it. Like their album covers were dope and stuff, so kids were buying the records.
And taking it to these college campuses.
Yeah. So he brings bluegrass back and makes it a music, for more and more people. Then, at the end of the 60s and the beginning of the 70s, when bands, rock and roll bands, were getting into the country sound and whatnot and wanted that country twang and sound and stuff, they hired him to come play fiddle. So all of the records, all of the rock and roll records, Rolling Stones, Linda Ronstadt, Emmylou Harris, the Eagles,
Manassas.
Flying Burrito Brothers, Stephen Stills' band, everything
That's
everything that has fiddle on it, from the late 60s to like the mid 80s, is this one dude. He also was the teacher and mentor for guys like Chris Thiele, Vince Gill. Gave all these guys their starts. Wow. This one guy. And then he moved back to Oklahoma, mentored, befriended, gave love and to generations of us musicians kind of coming up. And when I say that this guy is Yoda Jesus of the fiddle, he absolutely is. You cannot understate the impact that this guy has had on American music, on modern music, on so many musicians that we think are just the greatest musicians. All his fault. He just died today.
Man.
Broke my heart. It broke all of our hearts, even though he was old as balls. We knew he was going out.
Yeah. But it never makes you happy.
It didn't. It didn't help.
But you know what?
Thanks for letting me talk about it.
The happy side of that is obviously the impact it had on you and countless others, and so there's definitely there's a positive.
And I knew these guys would know some of that lineage.
But what an amazing him back.
He was the sweetest dude. He was the nicest, grooviest dude. Like, you don't get to play on all that stuff just because you're a good fiddle player or something.
Right.
And a lot of those guys didn't cruise into the second generation he did. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And then you've got your Chris Hillmans and those right. Yeah, absolutely.
The reason why that sound stayed in country, the reason why it invaded rock, the reason why it's part of popular music, Americana music, Bella Fleck, Newgrass Revival, all those guys, all
I
of
know
these
who Bella
guys.
Fleck is.
Tim O'Brien.
All his fault. Directly, not indirectly, but directly.
That is,
That's awesome.
but what an amazing legacy to leave.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I
it-
just wanted to get that in there to.
And you played with him.
And
Oh,
you
yeah,
played with
yeah.
him.
and you got to play with him.
Oh yeah. My mentor, drummer Steve Short, who was Reba McEntire's drummer on all the big Reba stuff. You know, he was Byron's drummer.
Wow.
And one of my best friends in Oklahoma, Brad Benge, great multi-instrumentalist, wound up being Byron's guitar player. And we were kids, kind of coming up in the Oklahoma music scene. And so, you know, he's like, "Hey man, going on tour with Byron this week." And we would just go and, you know, do stuff. I got to play with Ricky Skaggs and Bluegrass Setter and John Hartford, all these dudes, because they weren't just Byron's friends, but they looked at Byron like he was, you know,
Who he was. And
yeah,
and
man. We'd walk into
Yoda
the place,
Jesus.
and all these famous people would part because we were walking with Byron Berline. Mind blowing.
What an amazing honor.
The Oklahoma Bluegrass Society, the Guthrie Music Festival, Winfield, all those kind of things have its roots in him too.
And
What an amazing honor.
Most of my knowledge of that comes from the Quails and all of the musicians that came through the Quails.
I mean, you got a guy like that around.
Right.
How cool is that?
All of us.
Well, cool.
Ask
Lilly?
any of the Stragglers. Ask Cody Canada. Ask any musician from Oklahoma. Ask Kyle Nix. Nixie was one of his students and friends for a long time.
Oh, wow.
You know.
Well, I'm sorry for your
Thank you.
loss. I'm sorry
It's
for music
everybody's
loss.
loss,
Yeah.
man. People are going to be evangelizing this guy for a long time after this, I reckon.
Well, hopefully we can kind of do our part to kind of make some recognition of
Yeah.
who
Yeah,
that is.
thanks, Joe.
right.
Not
No,
to take
thank
away
you.
from
I
take away from the enormity and awesomeness.
I didn't know about him, but a lot of the artists that you named, I'm like, oh, I know all about him. But
Right.
You've heard him a bunch.
Yeah. I got some new rabbit holes now.
Yeah.
Lily, John,
Yes, sir.
Wes, Evan,
Yeah.
the implements. Thank y'all very much for being here with
Thank
us.
y'all.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm a big fan. I'll
We're a
see you at
big
the show.
fan.
So I'm Tim.
I'm Steve.
Bye, Texas.
Bye.
Bye.